Hey guys, it is Thursday, and in honor of that, I wanted to do a throwback Thursday. I have a ton of new people on here, and I haven't shared my story in a while. It's not the easiest thing for me to share, which is why I usually don't do it as often as I should. Sharing your story is such a great way to connect. Um, you can always learn something. Like, I've had people share their story with me, and it's taught me something, and it's very important to do, so I need to do it more. But um, I want to say a huge thing that I have always struggled with is fear. It's been very constant ever since I was a child. I grew up with an alcoholic mother who was verbally and physically abusive. Um, I had a lot of insecurities from that. I had my dad and I had lost contact when I was like 10, so I didn't get contact again until I was, I think, around 18, right before my 18th birthday. Didn't really have a father figure there throughout my teenage years. And then my mom, who as far back as I could remember, had been drinking a lot and would go into a rage. Um, and I had started eating a lot. Like, I had very bad eating habits. Um, I would overeat a lot and just try to drown my problems in food. Um, I ended up developing some eating disorders trying to get rid of the weight. I had became addicted to prescription pills. Um, I was sick a lot. I was born with a bad immune system, scoliosis. There had been a problem where I was in the hospital so much that my doctor or my school had threatened to expel me because I was in the hospital more than I was in school. So there's a lot going on, and I was just depressed. And I didn't see why I even had to be here, like, there was just a lot going on for just me being so young. When I was 13, my mom decided to stop drinking and get help. We started seeing family counseling, and that really helped a lot with our relationship. But it took a while. It took a few years, actually, before that started to help. I was still quite angry and didn't want to participate a lot, so it took a while. But later on down the road, it did end up helping a lot. But I had started to search for love in other areas, and I had gotten involved in some pretty bad relationships and put myself in a lot of bad situations, partying and just trying to be cool and be accepted. When I was 18, 18, I got involved with a guy, and he was a sweet talker and super cool, I guess you should say. He was the bad boy, but he played a sweet guy to me. Um, Definitely was a good charmer, and things moved very fast. And after 1 month, I was pregnant. Now, I want to say that I had been told by my doctor that I couldn't have kids. So I was I actually didn't believe them. I made them do 6 tests because I didn't believe that I was pregnant. I was like, no, more, more, more. And every single one came back positive. So I went and bought 2 more on the way home, and those came back positive too. So I was like, okay, I guess this is real. And I was terrified. But I was excited because I thought he really loved me, and he seemed excited too when I first told him. But that quickly changed. We started arguing a lot. It was probably my hormones going crazy because I was pregnant, but it brought out a side to him that I didn't know existed, and I would have known if I would have spent the time to get to know him first. But he became abusive when I was 5 months pregnant. And at first I was shocked, like, is this happening again? I already spent my entire life dealing with this. But he apologized, and I believed him. You know, I let it go. It should have been a red flag for me to leave, but I didn't. And I'm going to tell you that I stayed way longer than I should, because every single day it didn't change. It got worse. It escalated. I dealt with it for about 2 years. I had our firstborn on September 26th, and he took off about a half hour after I had her, and I didn't see him again until a couple days after I got home from the hospital. He never signed the birth certificate. There was, and by then I had to actually send in and pay to have him amended on it, which we never did, thank God. But in April the following year, sorry, I'm going to try to say this without crying. It's not easy, but in April the following year, things were no longer consensual. I was basically just in there because I had no idea how to get out, and I was terrified and I just had no idea how to escape. When my daughter was 6 months old, I found out that I was pregnant again. She was not consensual, and he didn't want her. I was already, or he asked me, well, didn't ask me, forced me to make an appointment to get an abortion. I called, and I was too far along, so I didn't. We ended up looking at adoption for a while, but as I ended up around, as she grew, I couldn't bear to give her up, so I ended up keeping her despite what he said. Caused a lot of fights. At one point, he attempted to terminate the pregnancy himself, and it did not work. She developed a tongue deficiency when she was born in result, and she was thankfully did not need to have surgery, but she's always been a little behind in development. She gets there, but she's a little behind her age group. And this was something that caused severe depression for me for a long time, because I felt like I brought that on her. Shortly after she was born, I think around 5 months old, we got into one of the worst fights that I've probably seen, and I could tell something was different. I had a very eerie feeling, and it lasted about 3 days. We were locked in our room, and I did not know if I was going to get out. I managed to, by myself. I had to leave my kids there, which was the hardest thing, but it was the only way for me to get to the police without tipping him off. I had created a plan with my mom that she had came up with my boss at work, and she pretty much got me out. After a 3-hour standoff, not knowing if I was going to see my kids, he jumped out a back window, and I got him. We've been moved to Michigan, and he was let go on charges because I was too scared to go back. And honestly, I'm kind of okay with that. But I had no identification. We were homeless for about 4 months. We found housing from my stepdad's relatives, and sometimes we were in a hotel if we could scrape enough money together. And then, man, I tell you, God, He made things work. And I just, one by one, things were coming through. I had, someone would randomly give me something, and I'd have money to be able to get my ID, and which then allowed me to get my birth certificate and then get everything else. We had no clothes except for what we left in, and through the church and other organizations, when we had first moved here, we were able to have a complete wardrobe. They donated, food for Thanksgiving, which was a blessing. And I just really saw God work a lot in this city and in the people that I met. And it brought me back to Him. I rededicated my life to God. And that was the beginning of a huge change in my life. However, I was still very depressed. I was still eating a lot because I was uneducated in food. And I was still dealing with PTSD and a lot of mental and physical conditions that I had gotten. And I was emotionally eating a lot. I remember going to the doctor more than I ever had, and I had probably migraines every day, and all my doctor kept wanting to do, and I switched doctors many times, but all they wanted to do is just give me more prescriptions for everything, and I was on about 13 of them at a time. 13 to 15, maybe 15, I think. My memory really started slipping, and I was a zombie. I didn't feel like myself anymore, and I just wanted out. I wanted to be me. I was tired of the medication my entire life, and my friend had reached out to me. She had recently become a coach, and she decided to take the time and reach out to me and invite me to her challenge group, and I did. I learned a lot, and in that 10 days I had seen results. I saw inches lost, but that wasn't even the thing that mattered, which ended up being really weird, I thought at first, but what I got out of it was this mental change. The food that I was eating was better for me, and it made me feel better. For the first time in my life, I didn't really feel like it wouldn't matter if I wasn't here. I wasn't depressed anymore. I mean, I still struggle with moments of depression, but it's not an ongoing 24/7 thing. I still have PTSD, and I still have a lot of fear. And I'm working on getting to know people instead of being afraid of them. I'm working on going outside instead of being afraid to. I still can't go around crowds, but I'm getting there. So, and it's all because of just learning, exercising, and clean eating, and then getting to know me. The number one cause of depression in this country is malnutrition. And that says a lot. If you look around this country, how many of us are overweight? How many of us are sick? How many of us are depressed, anxious? How many of us are overdosing on prescriptions every day? I mean, not overdosing to kill, but constantly you open up someone's medicine cabinet, and I feel like it's just ridiculous. When this whole time we have natural food that can help it. So, I'm not saying medicine's bad. I know it's there. It can certainly help in emergency situations, but it's meant to be a temporary relief, not a problem solver. And if you want to solve what your issues are, be it mental or physical, you need to go to what's real. and that's food, and that's exercise, because that exercise is going to give you a brain boost too. It's going to make you feel good. And then you can go to some personal development and really, really, really get yourself feeling good and learn how to be successful. So that's my Throwback Thursday. I hope you guys can maybe identify with anything in my story. Maybe you've been there too, maybe you haven't. Maybe you can learn something. So I hope you guys have a great day and happy Thursday.